It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, answer. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Full Court Press on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan. Doing a little switcheroo here in the studio. Jason's going to be calling a girls' basketball game later tonight. And this is the last week of the regular season for Region 11. So kind of exciting games. You got senior nights for a lot of these girls and boys games this week. Some of those started last week. But, yeah, some girls' basketball tonight. Where are you going tonight?
It was Green Canyon. Should be a good game there.
Basically, this is, gosh, I need to look at the standings, but this is is this pretty much for second place or they in second and third?
It's pretty much like Skyview's got second place pretty well handled. Like, I don't think Green Canyon even really has much of a chance to catch even like Green Canyon. I think Mountain Crest has a chance. Maybe it's weird because like Mountain Crest has played more Region 11 games because I don't think Skyview's played Logan at all because it's kind of a weird situation.
Oh, right.
With what Logan is doing. So like Skyview has the better win percentage. And so I think they'll end up in second. But really, a lot of these games, again, like getting second or third in region doesn't really matter anymore because it's all about the RPI. Like, it's like if you're not first, you're last. That's basically what it is.
Okay, so I just pulled it up. I was way off. I was thinking of Mountain Crest, but Skyview and Mountain Crest have the same region record. They're both 4-2. Green Canyon is 1-5.
Yeah.
But the game tonight in Green Canyon. So the Wolves trying to get another win.
And Green Canyon's a good team. Like that 1-5.
Look, their overall record is very similar to Skyview's.
Yeah.
So
I think it's just Green Canyon has lost those key games, especially against Ridgeline and against Skyview earlier in the region schedule. So like Green Canyon is a good team, but they play in a pretty tough division and. Again, they've lost a lot of the key matchups that would put them higher in the standings. So it's a team that will have a bad-looking record going into the state tournament, but they'll have a chance to make some noise. And, heck, I'm pretty sure they're really good in the RPI. Granted, the RPI has been taken down for them, but I'm pretty sure they were still like a top 10 RPI team, if I recall correctly. So I know Ridgeline was like 1, Skyview was like 3 or 4. I'm trying to sort through. I've got the boys and girls RPI rattling around in my head, but I'm pretty sure it was something like that. And I'm pretty sure Green Canyon was still in that top 10, I think hanging around 7 or 8. So, no, Green Canyon is still a good team, and so I think it should be a pretty competitive game.
Yeah, so a couple different ways to follow that game if you want. If you'd like, we'll have it on local radio. It'll be here on The Fan later this evening. It'll also be on 100.9 Light FM, and video streaming on CashValleyDaily.com. So a couple different ways to follow that game. Links are already available on Cache Valley Daily if you're curious, if you want to pass it around. But, yeah, that will be tip-off at 7, so your pregame probably around, 6:50?
Yeah, that's usually the plan is I like to get on around 10 minutes before and run through some of the key players, get through starting lineups, storylines. Basically, all that I've talked about here, we'll talk about on pregame as we get ready for that one.
Yeah, so just a little plug for what's going on a little bit later on tonight for what's going on in sports. Tomorrow we've got. I know it's Valentine's Day, but we got some pretty big games going on in boys basketball. Utah State, a men's basketball team. Well, frankly, the women's basketball team plays as well. So we got a lot of basketball tomorrow. And then the end of the regular season will be on Friday. So later this week is when it's all wrapped up. And then the final RPI and bracket reveal will be Saturday morning, coming up in just a couple of days.
And then it'll be late next week, I think, is the start of the first round, right?
Right, yeah. Higher seeds host. The top 8 teams will have a bye, first round bye. And then the higher seeds from there left over, they get to host. So that's 9 through 16, I believe. And then 17 on, they're on the road. So interesting to see what teams will be home, what teams will be able to take the week off and to spend more time in the gym, and then also which teams may have to hit the road a little bit. It's not just north versus south anymore. We've got quite a few teams in the middle of the state, the Wasatch Front area, that are in this classification now too.
Yeah, we'll see some new teams finally, some new blood with the 4A playoffs. Won't just constantly be playing, Dixie and Snow Canyon. I'm sure it'll, of course, knowing our luck and how nice it was to have more teams in 4A, it'll still be a bunch of Southern Utah teams, traveling up and down, because that's just how it's going to work.
Yes.
I think it was in football, we were thinking, okay, we're finally not going to get Region 11 versus Region 11 as much. And then I think one or two of the Region 11 teams ended up playing 2 Region 11 teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's right.
Wasn't it Green Cane?
Just had rematches again.
Yeah, just a bunch of those. Even though there's a bunch of other teams, 24, 25, however many teams in 4A now, and they were still playing teams from their own region. But that's just how the cookie crumbles, as they say.
Yes, that's just how it goes. Last hour we were talking a lot about the Utah Jazz. We touched on a little bit about the Utah State Aggies and the men's basketball team. But I think we need to talk a little bit greater detail about the Mountain West as a whole, because we've got some really, really juicy games tonight in conference play. These are games that are on national television. So it's thankfully we can actually tune in and see how these games play out. I know the Aggies don't play until tomorrow, but there are definitely games worth paying attention to, because you've got a future opponent playing tonight on the road, and that's at 7 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. Colorado State is at San Diego State.
That's 2 future opponents.
Yeah, that's true. The Rams, they've won 4 in a row. They're improving. They're in the coaches poll. They're not in the AP poll just yet. But the Aztecs, they playing very well. They just lost to Nevada last Friday in overtime. So this is going to be an interesting showdown. San Diego State favored by 6.5, which honestly surprises me they're giving that many points to the Aztecs.
Yeah, that's a little surprising. It was at San Diego State?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me actually that much, to be honest. Because I would give, if it's at Colorado State, you'd probably give them 1.5, 2.5. Flip it over to San Diego State, and especially given how likely it's been for blowouts to happen at home venues, even against these really good teams, that seems probably about fair, to be honest.
Yeah, so that game at 7 o'clock, CBS Sports Network. But that's not the only big game tonight. At 9 o'clock, the second game is this part of the doubleheader. It's New Mexico at Nevada. Now, Nevada last week had a great week. They beat 2 top 25 teams. They beat the Aggies and they beat the Aztecs. Tonight, they host New Mexico. So can Nevada keep that going? The other question is New Mexico, good at home, struggling on the road. They just lost to UNLV over the weekend. So do they suffer two losses in a row, or do they rebound? So this is an interesting matchup tonight as well. 9 o'clock CBS Sports Network. Nevada by 1.5.
Yeah, I think that's you kind of go with the hot team and they're at home. It will be really interesting because, New Mexico, do they end up, falling further does Nevada rise even higher? Because they're a team that's very much on the rise. Like, and if they beat New Mexico, suddenly that's a very dangerous Nevada team. Because they'll be getting hot at the right part of the season. Beating these really good teams, beating Utah State, beating New Mexico, getting these quality wins. Can they keep it going? We'll see. And again, them being at home, that's been an advantage, although we've now seen that teams aren't invincible at home. I mean, Nevada's one of the teams that's lost at home. So we'll see. I don't know who you'd root for in this case because, you don't want Nevada to rise too high in the standings for Utah State because they have the tiebreaker over you.
True.
But, of course, if Nevada wins, or New Mexico wins, and obviously they're pretty much right with Utah State. Matching the number of wins, obviously Utah State will still have a half-game advantage because of one fewer loss. But who knows? It's going to be a good game either way, and it's hard to parse out if you're an Aggie fan who you'd want to root for. Yeah,
because Colorado State, Boise State, New Mexico, San Diego State, they're all tied in second place at 7-4. Nevada right behind them at 6-4. So you've got Colorado State and San Diego State. That one of those teams will be 7-5. The other's going to be 8-4. And then New Mexico and Nevada, got almost a similar situation here. So it's very, very tight race in the Mountain West. So these games tonight are massive for not just because it further separates what that the seeding might look like here in about 3 weeks or so when you get to the conference tournament in Las Vegas.
Yeah, like this is where these games, and they're happening every single game day or game 2 days, since you have Tuesday, Wednesday, and then like Friday, Saturday. Like every time we do this round, there's these teams. Like there's 7 teams that are all within a game and a half or of first place, and so we're gonna keep seeing these massive games. When you have 5 or 6 teams that are all fighting for an NCAA tournament bid, and UNLV may be hoping to steal one of those by getting hot at the right time themselves. There's going to be these games all over the place. And it's going to be a tangled web of this team beating that team, and that team sweeping that team, and that team sweeping and splitting with this team. It's going to be a tangled as heck web. But the only solution for any of these teams to be sure of their destiny is to win out as best as possible. For the Aggies, you got that 1-game lead over everybody. Just try and beat the important ones. The important ones at the very least, but obviously, winning games at Wyoming, not dropping that game are for the Aggies. Because, like, the reason that Nevada is behind, well, they lost to Wyoming. A reason why, UNL, or why, New Mexico and Boise State have lagged slightly behind the Aggies. They've got a loss to They've each got a loss to UNLV. Why is UNLV lagging behind? Well, they dropped that one to Air Force. So the key for Utah State is, you'll probably end up losing 1 or 2 of those games against those top teams. You might lose at Colorado State. You might lose to San Diego State or New Mexico at home. But don't drop the easy ones, and don't drop too many of the important ones.
Yeah, that's the point. Because right now, besides just Utah State trying to maintain its position on top of the standings to get a favorable, I guess I put that in quotes, favorable position in the conference tournament, because there's so many good teams. You're going to have to go through tough teams before you get to the championship round. You're going to have to play some brutal competition just to get there.
Yeah, the favorable aspect is if you get to the semifinals, you get to play in the early game. Because to be honest, the only way you could say favorable aside from that is getting a favorable matchup. Like, there are teams I think the Aggies match up better with in the tournament. I think they match up well with Boise State. And in Colorado State, I think they're a decent matchup against. Others, it might be a little more difficult. Now, there's not a team in the Mountain West that I don't think they can't beat. Obviously, they can beat everyone. And, especially once you get to a neutral court, then a lot of those bets are off. So it's just trying to give yourself that, be on that, better side of the bracket. That's about as much of an advantage as you can give yourself. And then, it's just like the end of the regular season. The only thing you can do is win the games. That's the only way you can control anything. And The only way you can control anything in the Mountain West tournament is win the games. The Aggies have done that pretty much every year for like the last 5 years, is win games in the Mountain West tournament.
Win in Vegas. But I think you pointed out something else that I think is the bigger. Certainly, matchups is important in trying to find the right matchups to help your team. But you're just kind of beholden to how everybody else plays and what the standings look like. But probably one of the bigger advantages of being that top seed is the timing of when games play and the timing between the games too. Because if you can make it all the way to the championship game, that time makes a big difference. We've seen this work against Utah State multiple times, where they're on the lower side of the bracket. They have to play late on a Friday night and then turn around and play, an early afternoon, midday game with very little downtime. But the higher seed, they got a lot more rest, and they got to scout their opponents easier. So that makes a big difference. When you're playing against a lot of really good teams, any little bit of an edge you can get, it's going to matter. Because these teams are – there's so many good teams in this league. The top 6 arguably could still be going to the NCAA tournament. The top 6 are good enough to be NCAA tournament bound. And then there's a few more that, because of the matchups, make it challenging and make it tough. So there's not much of an easy path right now to the Mountain West Conference tournament championship game until we see more what these standings look like down the line, and you start looking at more closely, okay, what do the matchups specifically look like for these teams? What does the history of this season tell us about how this game might go in this bracket?
Yeah, because I can't know for certain, because I feel like the Aggies don't match up as well against San Diego State or New Mexico. But I think those two teams had some of their better games against the Aggies, and it was at their venue. And the reason why I feel like the Aggies match up well against Boise State, well, they swept them. And they looked good in both games. They seemed to be able to cause problems for Boise State, and Boise State couldn't cause as many problems for the Aggies back. They do have kind of one, small advantage in some of their post players, but the Aggies were able to neutralize that with their own advantages. Maybe the Aggies don't have as much of an advantage over UNLV. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. It's still only one game, but the Aggies did get the win at UNLV, so maybe you're confident about that. But until you see the Aggies play Colorado State again, play San Diego State again, play New Mexico, and it's hard to analyze how would the tournament go when you don't have enough volume to go on to be able to know, okay, how well do these teams match up? Because if New Mexico faces UNLV again, they're probably terrified of that because they don't match up super well. And
it's just a weird matchup issue there.
And if Boise State faces Utah State, the Aggie fans are going to be thrilled, and Boise State fans are going to be justifiably worried. But, of course, if the Aggies end up getting swept by San Diego State or New Mexico, then the Aggies are suddenly worried about that because, in some of those years where the Aztecs have swept the Aggies, it's been hard for the Aggies to get that win in that third game. I know they did it the one year with the shot, but that's a heck of a game.
Yes.
And there's a reason that game is so well remembered and loved by Aggie fans. But it'd be tricky if the Aggies don't match up well against some of these teams. But then again, the Aggies are playing for seeding, not necessarily tournament appearance.
Right. 5338 texting in the 5338 Sports Reeducation Academy and Think Tank AI predictive engine says that the Colorado State Rams will squeak out a win in Viejas Arena tonight, 78-77.
I would be impressed. I would be genuinely impressed.
So, which is better for USU on Saturday? That Colorado State gets a win tonight or that Colorado State loses tonight?
Depends on whether or not you beat the Rams on Saturday. Because if Colorado State wins, beats San Diego State, and then the Aggies lose to Colorado State,
yeah.
I guess that wouldn't be the worst thing because then you'd only split with them. But, and I guess it depends if you split with the Aztecs, I guess. I don't know.
Would you rather be facing a team that's won 5 in a row and it's coming off of getting a win in a place that's historically difficult to get a win as a road team, And so you're facing a team with a lot of confidence, or facing a team that had figured some things out, were winning some games they lost, and they're frustrated and want to take it out on you.
I don't know. It's hard to say because you can see like there are teams that are frustrated and they come back and they play better. We saw that from the Aggies against Boise State, although we saw the Aggies lose to San Diego State and then lay a complete egg against Nevada.
Play worse in their follow-up game.
So there's no guarantee that just because a team loses they're going to play better. And there's also no guarantee that because a team is playing well, like we can see teams that play well kind of get too big for their boots and then they lay an egg. We kind of saw New Mexico do that a little bit where they were getting all high and mighty about nobody can beat us at home. Well, they've lost like 2 in a row at home now. So, it's hard to say because obviously there's those kind of cliches about lose and you're angry and you come back and you play better and you also don't want to play a team with momentum, but I don't know. I'm being really indecisive.
Well, I think what would be more surprising to me is to see San Diego State lose 2 games back to back.
Yeah, that's something that they don't do very often. That's why they give them 6.5 points, and I believe it because I think San Diego State's going to win this game. Colorado State's good. I don't know if they're that good.
435-339-0321. If you want to chime in, got some big games in the Mountain West tonight. There was one other game that we didn't mention. I don't know that's really worth paying much attention to.
It's the game of the week, Eric.
Get out your pillows. It's the pillow fight.
Got your trash cans,
and keep the pillow handy because you'll fall asleep if you watch it.
That's true. You'll need that. Air Force at San Jose State. Battle of 1 in 10 teams, Eric.
Somebody's going to get to 2 wins.
There we go.
Woo!
We'll see. San Jose State won the first game between these two teams. That's their only win in conference play is against Air Force, at Air Force.
San Jose is favored by 3.5. The game is being played in San Jose.
Yeah, so
that helps too.
They maybe they should be favored by more considering they got the other win. Talk about Air Force's like randomly good home court advantage, yet they're getting blown out at home this year.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. All right, we need to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. We'll continue talking about the Mountain West Conference. Of course, if you want to weigh in as well, always love to hear from you. 435-339-0321.
Don't get caught without power to your home or business. This is Tyler with Golden Spike Electric. We offer Generac backup generators to keep your home or business warm, avoiding frozen pipes, loss of valuable food, or even a flooded basement. Golden Spike Electric is certified and factory trained, so you know it will be installed right and properly maintained. Contact Golden Spike Electric so you'll never be without power again. Online at gsegenerators.com. We also service other brands, Golden Spike Electric and Generac. Power you can count on.
It's never too late or too cold to get rid of that old vehicle. Now is the time to earn extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I'd like to invite you to learn more about us. Since 1997, we've been Utah's premier one-stop shop for home medical equipment. What sets us apart at Alpine Home Medical is the superior level of customer service. We provide home oxygen, CPAPs, wheelchairs, scooters, breast pumps, and so much more. Come on down and get to know us.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit alpinehomemedical.com.
Attention artisan eyewear fans. Crystal Vision is gearing up for their annual trip in search of 2024's latest eyeglass frames. To prep, their shelves will be undergoing a major transformation to make way for the new and upcoming styles. Crystal Vision is offering 50% off select current styles of handcrafted eyeglasses through February. Don't miss your chance to be fit by their expert opticians with one-of-a-kind artisan eyewear at a fraction of the price. Craftsmanship, detail, and savings. It's all waiting for you at Crystal Vision on 14th North or crystalvision.com.
Get your furnace fixed. Call Gary Riggs. Get your furnace fixed, call Gary Ricks. If you're having heating trouble and you need your furnace fixed, just pick up the phone and call Gary Ricks. 435-512-6633. We'll come to you. Our service fee is low, just $25. We repair all brands and have certified installers. Get your furnace fixed, call Gary Ricks. Get your furnace fixed, call Gary Ricks.
This is Two Pros and a Cup of Joe.
The Philadelphia Eagles have this advantage over everybody else in the NFL. It's called this brotherly shove, tush, push play. And Bailey Zappi tried it. Didn't go
it didn't
well.
work. I'll put it this way. When Kelsey retires, they're not going to be as good as it anymore. He is the biggest reason why they're so good at it.
Two Pros, LeVar Arrington, Brady Quinn, and a Cup of Joe, Jonas Knox.
Weekday mornings from 4 to 7 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan. It doesn't matter who you root for. The Full Court Press has all the high school sports covered. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, here on the Full Court Press. Always love to hear from you as well. 435-339-0321. And you may have heard it at the top of the hour, but there's movement going on in the Pac-12 that will be really interesting to watch to see how that does affect the Mountain West. Two real things that kind of jump out at me. One, the traditional bowl tie-ins among among Pac-12 schools will still be connected to those remaining schools, even if they're in different conferences, which is weird. So they're like the Las Vegas Bowl always has a tie-in for the Pac-12. And there's a number of other ones I can't remember off the top of my head. There's 4 or 5 of them that have specific Pac-12 tie-ins. And even though there's only going to be 2 schools remaining in the Pac-12, all those other bowls, if a school that's now in the Big Ten becomes bowl eligible and they don't want to fill the Big Ten allotment, they could go and fill one of those from the Pac-12 traditional tie-ins.
I guess that's probably the best carryover option. I think that's kind of what's happening is they have to have some kind of – because the fact they haven't signed like an actual new tie-in I think is maybe helpful. Because, again, the Mountain West, they're eyeing to see if they can get those tie-ins for, in their ideal world, a Pac-12 Mountain West merger, keep those tie-ins.
Dump the Arizona Bowl and get the Las Vegas Bowl instead.
Yeah. That's their ideal. And so that's kind of a decent sign. They're not like doing a new tie-in with the Big Ten or whoever. It's just this kind of awkward carryover of, hey, if you still want to come to our bowl, you can, even if you're in the Big 12 or Big 10 or whatnot. Because, they could have easily, like the Vegas Bowl could just go run over to the Big 12 maybe. If the Big 12, if there were mutual interest, they could have done that. I don't know if there really is a whole lot of interest because obviously these other bowls already have their own tie-ins. So...
Yeah, you have to remember, too, ESPN owns the vast majority of all these bowls.
Yeah, it's like out of, 41 or 42 bowls, they own like 40 of them.
Yeah.
Like I think the Arizona Bowl is like one of the handful of independent ones, and they were run like by Barstool, and they're dropping it because it's not viable for them to do it.
It's not working out.
You have to be this giant mega corporation. Of course, ESPN's hemorrhaging money in a lot of ways anyway, so.
Although they just committed a big chunk to be the exclusive home for the college football playoff for the next several years.
I just don't know how long this bowl system is going to be sticking around because there's a lot of money being sunk in to these bowls, and there's just waning interest in ticket sales, and a lot of schools are losing money doing it, and they're kind of being held hostage in doing so. I don't know if the Aggies actually made money going to their bowl game. They might have because they kept costs fairly cheap. They bust their team up to Boise, stayed there for half a week, sold a decent number of tickets. That was as cheap as they could get it, and I'm still not sure they made any money with that.
Yeah. Well, and then when star players keep opting out, they don't want to participate in these bowls.
Like at some point, I feel like there's going to be a bubble burst with these bowls, where a ton of them are just going to, go defunct. They're going to, and you're going to, have the number of bowls cut by like a third. And maybe it'll end up being these Pac-12 tie-ins that end up dying first because, they're more prestigious bowls, and suddenly they're getting filled by teams that are normally going to the Potato Bowl or the Arizona Bowl. I don't know. It's kind of a weird situation. It feels like the bowl situation is untenable financially, to where it expanded so much because everyone wanted to have a bowl game. And so many teams wanted to be in a bowl and just made so many of them. And now it got so bloated to the fact where 6-6, even 5-7 teams can make it into a bowl game. Like, that's how bloated we are. But it's just not, it's not tenable. It's not like March Madness where there's honestly probably way too many teams that get in, but there's so much money and so much excitement and everyone loves it and they buy tickets and people go. Like, even these neutral sites, people are buying tickets and going to these games, and a lot of fans are traveling, especially like those mid-major and low-major teams. Like, it's the first time they've been to the tournament in like 20 years, so of course they all flood there.
Yeah.
Even if it's across the country. So like that works, but bowl season, the situation they're in, it just feels like something's gonna burst. Because there's so much attention put on the playoff. You have the playoff expanding, so it's going to be, there's going to be even more focus on it.
Yeah.
So instead of 4 super exclusive, these are the only ones we care about teams, we're going to have 12. And so we're going to be more excited about it. It's going to turn bowl season to the NIT where literally nobody cares except for the teams that happen to be in those games. And I think there's going to be a lot of bowl games that just get shut out. And they're not going to be able to hold any water.
Yeah, but which may not be the end of the world, honestly, because there are too many bowls right now. We're almost every year we're talking about, well, can this 5-7 team, can they meet the qualifications to fit into the open spot? Why are we even having this discussion? A bowl should be a celebration of a successful season, not just a mediocre one. So I'd be okay with the number of bowls declining. Yes, there's advantage for recruiting, for development, for a second season, if you will, or a first spring. Yeah, there are some advantages that come with it, and maybe there's a financial payout that helps you.
I don't know if there is an advantage in recruiting all that anymore.
It really isn't like that anymore.
Like, I don't know if they actually have that advantage anymore. Because did Georgia State have an advantage going to a bowl game? They lost most of their team. And,
yeah, they did.
And, you talk about the practices. Blake Anderson spent most of his time recruiting during bowl season. They weren't doing practices. I mean, they did eventually do practices, but he had to go out recruiting. So, what development is happening? Because all the coaches have to go out recruiting. They have signing day. We had a signing day press conference, I think the week of the bowl game. So it's what is anybody benefiting from the bowl? And that's another reason why the early signing period and recruiting and having the transfer portal start during bowl season. The college football has ruined bowl season by just putting a bunch of other stuff that matters more to so many people than bowl games.
Because we're firing coaches.
Yeah,
you're firing the next head coach before that recruiting period.
Yeah. You're firing coaches, you're hiring coaches, you're recruiting players, you're signing players, you're recruiting your own players to stay in the transfer portal, you're recruiting others to come to you in the transfer portal. We've got coaches, leaving a place that still has a bowl game so we can go somewhere else and, begin the recruiting process. Bowl season doesn't matter anymore. For better or worse, it just doesn't. And, it's nice, and we'll talk about getting into a bowl game, and it's mostly because it's a benchmark. To be honest, that's kind of why we end up talking about bowl games. We talk about making bowl games as a check mark on a season. And that's literally the most valuable part of bowl games at this point. The bowl game itself doesn't matter. The practices don't matter because half your players may leave. and you're spending more time on recruiting than practicing. And then you get to the bowl game and nobody cares. The coaches don't care. The players want the season to be over. Like, if you're not in the playoff or the championship or whatnot, nobody cares. Like, they'll care to some degree because they're competitive guys. But if they lose, they shrug it off. Or, they already had one foot in the transfer portal anyway, and they just leave. So that's the thing with bowl games. It's, you don't see that with the NCAA tournament.
No.
Teams don't skip the Mountain West tournament or the NCAA tournament to go transfer.
Yeah. Which college? Name me a college basketball player who decided to skip the NCAA tournament because he wanted to avoid getting hurt because it might affect his draft stock.
Yeah.
When have we seen that? I would argue never. At least that I can recall.
The only times they miss the tournament is if they are actually injured.
Right. Because there's a legitimate reason to play because you get to bring home the trophy. You're a national champion.
There's players that raise their draft stock because they play well in the tournament.
Right.
Trey Burke, Gordon Hayward, good on the list. There's players that have done it. They don't do that for bowl games.
Going back to the full court press text line 9315. Seeing that the Pac and Mountain West will eventually become one, how will this affect Pac bowlers? Well, I don't know that they will eventually become one, but certainly things are kind of moving in that direction.
It's trending. It's trending in that direction. It's far from guarantee. Again, it's the Pac-2 dragging its heels. They will drag this out as long as they possibly can. It's something I've said before, that they are waiting for something miraculous to happen. They're waiting for a miracle to where they can jump into a power conference or find a way to, pick and choose some of the best teams to create their best approximation of a pseudo power conference. They'll pretend it's a power conference, but it won't be. That's what they're waiting for, is some opportunity where they can strike. They have basically 2 years, and they have the money to hold out on that. So they're going to do it. And the Mountain West will keep trying to push them. And the Mountain West is using its leverage about as best as it can. But it can't force the issue.
No, it can't. Now, the latest shoe to drop in this saga is that these two schools, Oregon State and Washington State, have sent a note to the 10 other schools that they're dumping George Kliavkoff.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, is it? It'll be interesting to see what direction they go. If Gloria Nevarez, if they've liked working with her and see what she's been able to do and what she can do for them, or do they? Now I'm blanking on his name. The guy whose son played for Stanford, then he was a quarterback at for the Colts, Indianapolis Colts.
Can't remember who you're talking about.
Then he kind of left football early.
Andrew Luck?
Yes, Andrew Luck. His dad was a candidate previously when they ultimately decided on Kliavkoff. Then they hired him to come in as a consultant to kind of navigate these media rights issues with what was going on over the last year and a half. So he kind of wants to get back in on that. So it's still a pretty hot mess.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes because whoever they have is going to be maybe temporary. I don't know. Because I'd be willing to bet that Gloria Nevarez has her eyes set on being the commissioner of a merged
unified
Pac-2 Mountain West. And unless there's a lot of blowback from whoever this next commissioner is, it's possible that you mentioned Andrew Luck's dad, or maybe they just do some kind of joint commissioner between like the presidents of Oregon State and Washington State. Some kind of committee approach. If that's the way it goes, now would certainly open the door for a merger with Nevarez taking over. But then if they actually do hire somebody, then I don't know. It gets more complicated.
Yeah. 5180, couple of texts here. They need to change eligibility to at least 7 and 5. Do a statistical analysis of how many bowl games are needed at that level, then go with that, and fewer bowl games with larger payouts. Yeah, I agree. Look, a large part of the bowl season is just to help ESPN fill inventory, which is still kind of silly because the NBA is going. The NFL is still going, but
ESPN doesn't have a ton of NBA or NFL. They barely have any NFL. They get one NFL game a week. And they do get NBA, but they have to share that with like TNT and ABC and all that.
Yeah, ABC is still their property, but
yeah, I know,
but still.
But they play the NBA games on ABC.
Yeah,
not always on ESPN.
Well, it's interesting to still note what's going on there. Also, in a week, they will vote on changing the model of the college football playoff for automatic qualifiers.
Yeah,
to the instead of the 6 and 6 to 5 and 7.
Yeah, and it's going to go that way. It's inevitable. The only reason it hasn't changed already is because there's holdouts because everyone has to vote, and I think unanimous maybe, and obviously the Pac-12 or I think it was the Pac-12 is like kind of holding back.
Yeah, it has to be a unanimous vote.
Yeah, and it's like they don't want that, but it's inevitable that it will go that way. It's just if it happens this year or next couple of years.
All right, we're going to take another time out here in the Full Court Press. A lot more to discuss and to talk about. I'd love to hear from you as well. 435-339-0321.
Hi, Cache Valley. It's Jay from Daryl's Appliance. Now at Daryl's, we have the perfect laundry pair for you. Come in and get our best-selling Speed Queen washers and dryers and get a $200 mail-in rebate. Hurry, though. This offer can't last long. Don't forget, we have a box of chocolates for you and your honey for Valentine's Day with the purchase. Speed Queen Laundry at Daryl's, your appliance experts. West on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
Daryl's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
What do Valentine's Day and Jarek's have in common? They're both all about the romance. Jarek's Fine Jewelry has a great selection of men's and women's watches, earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and yes, engagement rings. Don't sweat it out worrying about where to get the perfect gift. Just come to Jarek's. Through Valentine's with any purchase, receive a forever metal rose, handcrafted by Metal Petals. Valentine's Day and Jarek's, they're both all about the romance.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
Security. It's the most precious thing you can give your home, especially if it's guaranteed. No cheap locks, no weak keys, no inadequate hardware, just the expertise and precision and security. Beezer Lock and Key believes there's no place like a safe home, and no home safer than one secured by them. It may seem they only sell locks and keys, but what they really sell is peace of mind. Search Beezer Lock and Key or go to 4th North and 1st West and just add confidence.
Are you getting overwhelmed by decisions regarding Social Security? Adams Wealth Advisors is here to help you secure your financial future by helping you navigate the complexities of the Social Security system. The team of experts at Adams Wealth Advisors is ready to guide you through the process and tailor a custom financial plan that fits your goals and aspirations. With Adams Wealth Advisors, it's not just about managing your wealth, it's about empowering your future. Call 752-1702 or search online for Adams Wealth Advisors to schedule an appointment with a Social Security expert today.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
This is The Odd Couple with Chris Broussard and Rob Parker.
LeBron is somewhat doing like a Wilt Chamberlain. He's going to own the record book, but it's a lot due to the longevity. But Wilt, is held against him. He only won 2 rings in 13 years. And if LeBron doesn't win anymore, that's where it could work against him.
With Chris Broussard and Rob Parker.
Weeknights from 6 to 8 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan. Join the show by calling 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Crystal Vision, they're making room on all their shelves for the new and upcoming styles. So select style frames are 50% off. Go check it out. Check out what inventory they do have on 14th North in Logan. That's Crystal Vision. And go check it out. The select frames, 50% off right now. So, yeah, there's some big changes going on, and the upheaval continues in college football. I don't know if it's upheaval as much as unrest. Maybe that's a better term to use with what's going on in the Pac-12. Oregon State, Washington State, signaling that they're terminating George Kliavkoff, his contract as their conference commissioner. They've sent a notice to the other schools. They agreed they would do that. They have operational control, but they need to still include the other schools in the decision making that happens. And it's only a few months left of what is currently known as the Pac-12, the last vestiges of it. And it doesn't really come as much of a surprise. Kliavkoff inherited a mess, but he didn't necessarily do a heck of a whole lot to move the needle and to get the Pac-12 out of the mess. The momentum was moving in one direction before he got there, and he really didn't do a whole lot to slow that momentum or change course. So I'm not surprised to see that they want somebody different in charge of their new future. But what will be interesting is to note where they go and how they do it. And will this bring the Mountain West and the remaining schools of the Pac-12, will it bring them closer, or will it move them a little bit further apart? So definitely worth paying attention to that, keeping a very close eye on that, because the moves that take place in the Pac-12 still very much affect the future of the Mountain West, whether that's scheduling arrangements or even future membership, whether some schools leave the Mountain West or if there's a reverse merger or all that other stuff that could still happen. Because I think there's still, my hunch here is that there's still going to be a waiting game for Oregon State and Washington State. That if they can wait it out as two sole members, sit on that financial war chest that they've got, and bide their time the best they can, there's going to be more changes. I don't know if it'll be within 2 years. They may have to still do something within two years because they can't really survive as a conference longer than that, at least not recognized by the College Football Playoff Committee or the NCAA as being a conference. But I think that it could be within 3 to 5 that we're going to see some another wave of significant change in college athletics. And most notably, I think college football just breaks away and does its own thing, because you'll see these schools on the West Coast traveling all the way to the East Coast for these variety of Olympic sport competitions, and it will just wear on them and drive them batty, and they'll want to make a change. So I don't see it really lasting that long. I don't know if Oregon State and Washington State can last long enough as two standalones, but it's going to be fascinating to see how the landscape of college athletics over these next few years. 435-339-0321. Reminder, a couple of really big games tonight in the Mountain West Conference. You've got Colorado State at San Diego State tipping off at 7 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. Two future opponents for the Aggies. Colorado State on Saturday, San Diego State a little bit further down the line the week after. But then at 9 o'clock, the second game of the doubleheader, it's New Mexico at Nevada. So another big game. New Mexico will visit the Spectrum in early March. But two really big games in conference standings. that are on the line. And just to scout to see what these teams will look like. Is Nevada going to be able to continue their hot streak? Will New Mexico be able to rebound after losing to UNLV? Will San Diego State lose 2 in a row? Can Colorado State continue their hot streak? So a lot of interesting storylines being played out tonight throughout the Mountain West Conference. And, of course, tomorrow it's Utah State at Wyoming. That's going to be 8 o'clock on FS1. And then there's another game on CBS Sports Network, a later game, 9 o'clock, UNLV at Fresno State. But, yeah, big games these 2 days that can greatly affect what's going on in the standings throughout the Mountain West Conference. All right, going to take another quick timeout. We'll let you know other games going on tonight to pay attention to and other things that are kind of moving the needle on the sports world. 435-339-0321 if you want to chime in as well.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. President's Day sale is our biggest sale of the year. We've been planning this one for months, Cache Valley. This week determines which end of the valley will sleep better. Will it be my store, the north, or will it be Travis's store in the south? Since I'm the one talking, come on, North, let's do this. The truckloads are here. Purple, Sealy, and Tempur-Pedic are in stock. The President's Day sale and bragging rights. There's never a better time to buy better sleep than right now at My Mattress at the President's Day sale.
No matter how cold it is outside, you can count on a quality-built, super-efficient York furnace to keep you warm inside. York furnaces provide consistent comfort throughout your home. York furnaces are protected by the strongest warranties available. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer at 752-7272 to schedule a free evaluation of your system. Advanced Heating will help you save up to 50% in energy costs this season. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
Spice up the winter blues with a delicious outing to Logan's first family-friendly brew pub, Prodigy Brewing. Excited to announce their success at the 2023 Tasting Alliance World Beer Competition. Prodigy Brewing won 3 of the highest medals. Prodigy invites you to try their juicy burgers, sizzling wood-fired pizzas, tasty salads, bar bites, and kids menu. Prodigy Brewing is in downtown Logan, proud to be one of the Logan's vibrant downtown food and beverage destinations. Prodigy Brewing, extraordinary service and family-friendly.
Hello, Cache Valley. This is Tom Hale at Blue Sky Restoration, formerly ARS. Remember, got a mess? Call ARS. We want to let you know that here at Blue Sky, we still have the same great staff, we provide the same excellent service, and are ready to help you in your time of need with water mitigation, mold remediation, or a fire. From Blue Sky Restoration, thank you for trusting our staff and myself for over 35 years with your disaster needs, and we will continue to be here for you.
Valentine's Day is a reminder for us to express our love to those we're close to. When the message is important, call Plant Peddler Floral. Whether you're sending a single flower or a dozen roses, flowers deliver your message perfectly. All kinds of options are available from Plant Peddler's experienced designers. Stop by the shop to pick it up or give them a call and Plant Peddler delivers. 435-753-0444. Call your Valentine's order and now have a credit card ready. They'll take care of everything. 753-0444. When the message is important, it's Plant Peddler Floral.
It's never too late or too cold to get rid of that old vehicle. Now is the time to earn extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
Check this out. This is The Herd.
You're excited. I'm excited.
With Colin Cowherd.
I would like to point out that all through this league with quarterback injuries, when an offensive coach loses a starting quarterback, it's not man overboard. 32-37 this last weekend, Jake Browning a backup at Jacksonville. Zach Taylor, offensive coach.
This is The Herd.
Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. So besides these big Mountain West Conference games tonight on CBS Sports Network, TNT has a doubleheader tonight. If you're looking for NBA action, it's the Thunder at the Magic going on right now, nearing the end of the first quarter. Orlando with the early lead. It's close. It's close. And then the later game will be Sacramento at Phoenix. The Kings at the Suns. By the way, game of note, somewhat. It's just that the Lakers are playing tonight. They're hosting the Pistons at 8:30 this evening. The only reason why that's of note is because the Jazz will host the Lakers tomorrow. So Lakers have a back-to-back, and there's some travel involved there. So see if the Jazz can take advantage. A little bit out of sorts on Monday. This really their first game of learning how to play with the younger guys and figuring out new rotations. So it's going to be interesting to see how that looks moving forward against the Lakers, who are they're right close to where the Jazz are in the standings too, trying to make the playoffs. So this is kind of an important game for Utah. And then Golden State will be on Thursday. They're back-to-back for the Jazz, but at least they'll be at home. That's going to do it for us tonight. Here in the Full Court Press, we'll have girls basketball later on tonight.